everybody, may the blood of Yahweh cover this video. Okay, I'm just going to get right into it. It's about the dreams that I received shortly after I had that encounter with the beasts, the testing of my faith. Alright, so I'm just going to get right into the dreams. Now, the first one, I wasn't sure, not the first one, it was the second one, I wasn't sure if it had anything to do with the beasts or if it had a heavenly message to it. Now, the first one I knew was heavenly because it was very familiar to the one that I just received not too long ago, where I was up in the mountain and I look down into the valley and I see lawlessness, I see anarchy. Now, that was the first dream after the encounter with the beasts when I filmed them that Saturday on the Sabbath. The dream was I'm looking out my kitchen window and I have a two-car driveway, and I see about 5 to 7 policemen beating up on this young man, a small young man, not a very big man, and they're beating on him like with no mercy. I mean, they couldn't care less if they killed him, and they get to the point where they walk away from him, and at this point here is where I'm starting to pick up that they're not here for what they said they were here for. They're here for something else. It was very sinister about the whole situation with these policemen. And they're just looking right for something, and I don't know what they're looking for, but they're gung-ho. They're all over my property. Now, that ends a couple of days later. Another one, very strong. My husband and I are in Winnebago, and I go to him to tell him, okay, I'll take over, I'll drive. And as we're talking, I'm looking over and I don't see the steering wheel. And it was very bizarre. So I'm trying to figure out, and I'm saying to him, like, how do you control the vehicle? How are you controlling this? How do you, And so I'm looking for some keys or some sort, and I look back at my husband, and he's scrunched over, his head's down and his shoulders, and I'm not sure whether he's sleeping or he's passed away. I don't feel anything at this point. I just assume that he's sleeping. So then it flashes to me sitting on a picnic table out in a park, out in the open, outside, middle of the afternoon. And I'm changing my clothes, I'm getting dressed, and I'm finding this very bizarre as I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, what? Like, I'm no privacy, no nothing, no shame, no humiliation, nothing. I'm just, at this point, I'm putting on this top. Now, what's really important is that I have to remember that it's a black top. Black is just popping right out at me, black. And not only am I, because I wasn't sure whether I was taking the top off or I was putting it on, but I realized I was putting the top on. So this blackness that I'm putting it on, okay? Then it flashes to where I find the keys, and we're in like a motel room, and I pick up the keys, and next thing I know, I'm in a transport truck, and I'm driving. And now I'm not driving on the road, I'm driving on the walkway of this motel. Like, I mean, it's not even on a sidewalk. I mean, it's right up there. It's weird. I'm not driving on the road. And then I have a transport coming towards me, and it's a man in the truck, and he gives me a thumbs up. And then I look in my rearview mirror, and it looks like the 2 trailers that I'm pulling are ready to flip, but I don't see it flip. I wake up. So of course, I'm really meditating now on these dreams. I'm, focusing whether, they're heavenly. I'm using my discernment in all of this. And then I actually went to Iris and I said, Iris, I said, what really bothers me about the dreams, one, the anarchy is right on my property. It's right there. So it's very close, very, very close. I said, but the second one where I don't see the steering wheel, this bothers me because I always bring up, take your hands off the wheel and give him full control, meaning Jesus, meaning God, give him full control. And this bothered me that there was no wheel. So she came back in an email and mentioned that, that it could be that when Jesus was in the boat, he was sleeping and there was a storm brewing and it was, getting pretty bad, and the disciples were very concerned and in fear. And this had to do with the disciples' faith. Well, this made a lot of sense to me, and it calmed me right down, and it felt right with spirit. Because right after my incident on the Sabbath on that day, where the beasts were letting me know that they were there, like, do you see me? That kind of thing. My faith was intact and very strong, and there was absolutely no fear in this. Because, like I say, this bringing me back to the age of 12 years old, what really comes out is that this is what Jesus saved me from, and it was from these beasts. Okay? So now Iris comes out with a dream, and I hope I do justice with this, Iris. I really do, because it was a very powerful dream. It was an amazing dream. You're talking about how it's so black in the theater, and right away I connect the blackness with my top being the black and putting on the black. And you're saying that you're able now to focus in, and you're noticing that there's a lot of people and they're in a zombie state, or they're sleeping. There's something wrong with them. And then you say that there's a young woman that you see. She looks normal. In other words, she's awake. And then you have that urge that you want to tell them to wake up, to get them out of this building or out of this darkness. And then you go on to say that you feel that it's your husband that's behind you, and you now know that your husband is representing Jesus. Now you say that you're at the back of the theater, and Jesus walks you up to the front row of the theater. And this is what I get from that alone. Spirit brought me right to Scripture, Matthew 20, verse 9. So the last shall be first, and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen. So I see that everybody that was in that theater that you saw could be the forefathers that, have fallen asleep to put us in the position where we are today. And then we also have the zombie-like people that are sleeping today. So it was an amazing dream, Iris. I thought that was just amazing. And I thank you for sharing that. And I really do believe that this blackness that's coming over us is real soon. We don't know how bad that, people say, yeah. No, you don't know. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and you don't know how bad this is going to get. I don't think anybody can be prepared for anything that's about to come upon us. They're really pushing cannibalism in the films today, and even on TV, you'll be sitting there at 8 o'clock at night, family and all, and here you have someone who's going to eat themselves. They're going to eat their placenta, So yes, we're in some really going to be coming in some really dark times. So my husband just showed up. I am going to continue this in a minute, so I will be back. No fear, be love, and give hope.